back to Lex Reads. So in today's video, I actually want to talk about Penguin Classic, the Black Spines. As you guys know, that is my favorite editions like ever. I'm a collector of them. I think currently I have over 40, which I know is a lot, and I have so many more that I want to get. But I tend to like these editions because always, 9 times out of 10, I love the artwork of it, and then also I just like the simplicity of them with like the yellow, writing. And then also I tend to reissue and reprint books that don't get the praise that they should, especially when it comes to Black literature, which I'm always happy about that. But I wanted to share with you guys some recent ones in my collection that I have added, and also some of my favorites. So let's start with some recent ones. So 2 that I bought for my birthday, which is back in September, was Benjamin Franklin, the autobiography and other writings. And then I got D.H. Lawrence, Lady Chatterley's Lover. With this one, I wanted to get it because I remember every time I would go to Barnes & Noble, I would always go and look at this. And for some reason, I would just gravitate towards it, and that's really weird for me because you guys know I like fiction books. It's rare when I read a nonfiction book, and I learned that Benjamin Franklin actually had an illegitimate child. We still to this day does not know his baby mama, okay? He did not divulge that. He get some tea from this autobiography, but it was really good. And then also that cover just intrigues me. Look at him with all these women. I can't get over that cover. And then for this one, I wanted to get this after I watched the Netflix version of this movie. And I think I have another D.H. Lawrence book. Is it Sons and Lovers? Something like that. It's somewhere in here. But I had heard of this book, but I never, read it, obviously. I watched a movie version on Netflix. I actually really did like it because you're dealing with a young couple. You have a woman, you have a couple where the husband is really well-to-do, established, has money. He goes to war and gets wounded, and he can't fulfill his marriage duties when it comes to sex, basically. Not basically, he can't. And yeah, she gotta explore some other options. Now this cover is whack. They could have done better with this cover. Next is the letters of Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh is probably my second favorite artist. I would say Degas is my favorite because he paints, ballerinas, and I love ballerinas. Just the ins and outs of his story and his mind. You guys know he struggled deeply with mental issues, and the way that people just discarded him and things like that. Yeah. But with this, it's his actual letters to his brother Theo. They're really, really close. You see his thoughts and things like that when it comes to personal life, when it comes to his professional life, and him just wanting to really be accepted, but did not know how to. He couldn't express himself. I would say in letters he could, but he was kind of awkward around people. So I just had to get this. The next is W.E.B. Du Bois, The Souls of Black Folks. Now, you know what's crazy? I have never read this. And I think I have 2 copies. And of course, I wanted to get this one. I do know the gist of it, but I haven't sat down and read it, which I'm like, girl, you need to sit down and read it if you're supposed to be a Black book collector. So I am going to sit and read it just to see what, he's talking about. This is clearly, it's considered a classic, and not just a Black classic, but a classic in general. Next is Ida B. Wells, The Light of Truth. I believe this is an autobiography of her. Before Rosa Parks, she refused to get off of a train, and she was a journalist and really was an activist when it came to Black rights, and during the Reconstruction age and 1900s and things like that. She also was a wife and mother, so she had a lot of hats. Next 2 were Christmas gifts. I think I showed you guys. I asked for these in my Christmas stockings from my sister, and first I got George S. Schuler, Black Empire, and look at this cover. Now this was a reissue. It was released last year, 2023, and this one also was released last year. Look at this. Now I know about George S. Schuler. But I did not know anything about David Hayes. This is right by my side. I know this is a coming of age story about a 15-year-old boy. It says 1980s coming of age story about a black teenager, family love, obligations, and the everyday struggle of growing up. So I'm really curious to see this. I know it's set outside of Missouri, St. Louis. And then also another reason why I want to get it, because I tend to, when I do read a coming of age story, the main protagonist is usually a woman or a girl, so I wanted to, you know, read something a little bit different and get a black boy's perspective. So yeah. Next is The Portable of Charles W. Chestnut. My sister also bought this for me. He was a well-to-do author in the late 1900s, where he was one of the first to get paid for his writing like a generous amount. Now, if you look at Charles W. Chestnut, he does not look like a black man, but he is. In this portal, it has one of his stories, The Mouth of Tradition, I believe. The Mouth of Tradition, which was published in 1901. It also has 12 short stories, some critical analysis, and some essays and things like that. Next is a portable of Anna Julia Cooper. Now, that's another reason why I love the Penguin Classic editions, because when it says portable, usually it's a full collection of, you know, the author's stories, works, and all that. And you remember I was telling you guys earlier with Penguin Classic, they tend to reissue authors' works that are not, you know, praised and really just out there. And Anna Julia Cooper is a prime example of that. She was like the first feminist, okay? She was the second woman, I think, believed to graduate from Harvard University. And if it wasn't for her, when it came to like women's suffrage, we wouldn't be able to have a lot of those laws, you know, with voting rights. She helped Susan B. Anthony, which, you know, we don't talk about that. And she writes essays, critical analysis, just about the struggles of being black, especially being black in America as a woman. And she goes really deep. This one is The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. Love this edition. This came out in 2023. And of course, I had to get it. I have another edition of this book, clearly, because I have one, the other one I have is where I highlighted and annotated. And then of course I have a pretty nice copy. You guys know I do that. I really love this cover. Isn't it pretty? And that's him, obviously. Okay, now let's talk about my favorite ones from these editions. First, I always mention this. It is the unsung narratives of American slavery and abolitionists. These have stories from underrated black, you know, Americans that have contributed to society. And we have children's literature, we have poetry, we have some fiction. You really want to know about like blacks that, once again, that are under the radar. I would highly recommend you guys get this book. Next is Elizabeth Kingsley, Behind the Scenes. She was the confidant of Mary Todd Lincoln. Also, she was a dressmaker, seamstress. Most of the dresses that we see Mary Todd Lincoln have on, she's the one that made, you know, them. She gives you the insight of her life as a slave. Also, she gives you a lot of tea of the Lincolns and how when Lincoln died, the first person that Mary called was her. Also, she talks about just some ins and outs when it comes to his policies and things like that. And people were saying that when this book first came out, she was airing out the dirty laundry of, you know, the Lincolns, especially when it comes to Mary. Mary struggled with mental illness. Today, she would probably be diagnosed as bipolar. And in the inner circle, they knew that Mary struggled. But outside, you know, public did not know that. And she does talk about that. And she honestly does it in a respectable way, but they just didn't want nobody to know, you know, their business like that. So, yeah. Next is the portable 19th century African American women writers. Love this because not only do you get writers that are well known, but you also get writers that are not well known. Then you have a collection with black women writers before, like Alice Walker and who else? Toni Morrison and Maya. And then lastly is Passing by Nella Larson. I actually have two editions. This is my first edition and I liked it so much and wanted to get another edition. So of course I had to get this one. This is the newest one. I believe this came out when the movie came out, yeah, in 2018. Like this one better than this one, but this book, 5 stars. I mean, her writing was just unbelievable. I'm always sad when it comes to Nella Larson because she only wrote 2 books and like 3 or 5 short stories, and she was accused of plagiarism. And because of that, she was like, you know what, I'm just going back to my first occupation, which was nursing. And she withdrew herself from the literary world, her, you know, friends that were in literature, and went back and just became a recluse, and it was because of that. And the case was thrown out because they realized that she didn't do any of that, but she got discouraged, and her thing is, I'm not doing this anymore. But I have to be grateful we have 2 novels by her and a couple of short stories. So yes. So yeah, guys, that is it when it comes to my Penguin Classic Edition collection. It is ever growing. I would say my next one that I really want to get is Not Without Laughter. I told you guys about that. I'm reading that book this year. It's on my TBR list, and the edition I have, I don't really like it. I want the obviously Penguin Classic Edition. So the one I have now, I probably will highlight and annotate it, and then the Penguin Classic one, it will be my nice pretty copy to display. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you, and I'll be back with more Black books. Bye.